ဒီနေ့ဝိသခမာသမာစဗုဒ္ဓနေ့ပါပဲဗုဒ္ဓနေ့ဆိုတော့ဘုရားဘာသာဝင်ဖြစ်ကြတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်များဟာဗုဒ္ဓနေ့နဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့ဘုရားပူဇော်တဲ့အနေနဲ့ပေါ့လေလူမျိုးအလိုက်တိုင်းပြည်အလိုက်ပေါ့လေဝိသတ်ပွဲတွေဆင်နွှဲကြပါတယ်ဘုရားတို့ဒီမှာကတော့ဝိသတ်ပွဲဆင်နွှဲဖို့တော့မဟုတ်ပါဘူးဘုရားနေ့နဲ့ပတ်သက်ပြီးတော့ပြောတဲ့အချက်ကလေးတွေပြောဖို့ပါပဲဘုန်းကြီးကတရားလေးတစ်ပုဒ်စီစဉ်ထားပါတယ်
Today is a very auspicious day because all Buddhists would know that it is Buddha Day. It is a full moon day of Visakha. And throughout the world, Buddhists of different countries celebrate in various ways according to their respective customs and traditions this particular day, which is also called Vesak Day. However, Sayadaw says that he's not here to celebrate Vesak in any of those festive traditional way. He has prepared a special talk today to in remembrance of this auspicious occasion.
မြတ်စွာဘုရားဟာဒီနေ့ဒီရက်အခုဘုရားဂယာခေါ်တဲ့နေရာဌာနဘောဓိပင်အောက်မှာတရားဓမ္မတွေကျင့်သုံးလို့ကိလေသာတွေမှန်သမျှလေးမဲ့နဲ့အပြတ်တခါတည်းရှင်းတယ်နောက်ဆုံးအရဟတမနဲ့ကိလေသာတွေအပြတ်ရှင်းလိုက်တဲ့အခါတပိယုတဉာဏ်တော်ကြီးကိုရရှိပါတယ်အခြားဗုဒ္ဓဉာဏ်တော်တွေနဲ့အတူပေါ့လေတပိယုတဉာဏ်တော်ကြီးရရှိတယ်အဲဒီတပိယုတဉာဏ်တော်ကြီးရရှိတာကိုပဲဘုရားလို့ခေါ်တာပါပဲဒီနေ့ဘုရားဖြစ်သွားတာ
more than 25,000 years ago, 2,500 years ago, in Bodh Gaya, under the Bodhi tree, the Bodhisattva sat and meditated on this very day, and the same day, the same date, more than 2,500 years ago, in Bodh Gaya, under that Bodhi tree, arose in the Bodhisattva the insight and knowledge that cut through the veil of ignorance and uprooted all defilements through the Arahata Maggaphala, through the Arahata path consciousness. And also at that very moment, he attained omniscience as well as all other forms of knowledge and wisdom pertaining to a fully enlightened Buddha.
အဲဒီလိုအရဟတမနဲ့ကိလေသာတွေကိုပယ်ဖြတ်ပြီးတဲ့အခါအတိပစ္စုပ္ပခန္ဓာခေါ်တဲ့ဆင်ញင်မှုတွေဖြစ်ပါတယ်သောတပတ္တိမေအခိုက်အတန့်မှာ မိမိရရှိသွားတဲ့အမက်ကိုဆင်ញင်တာဖို့ကိုဆင်ញင်တာချုပ်ငြိမ်းတဲ့နိဗ္ဗာန်ကိုဆင်ញင်တာပယ်ပြီးကိလေသာတွေကိုဆင်ញင်တာမပယ်ရသေးတဲ့ကိလေသာကိုဆင်ញင်တာဆင်ញင်တဲ့ပြစ္ဆုတ်ခန္ဓာစိတ်အကျဉ်ပေါ့လေ၅ချိန်ပဲထို့အတူသဂရဂမိမဲ့ရပြီးတဲ့နောက်ပိုင်းမှာလည်း၅ချိန်အနာဂမိမဲ့ရပြီးတဲ့နောက်ပိုင်းမှာလည်း၅ချိန်စီအားလုံး15ချိန်အရဟတမဲ့ရပြီးတဲ့နောက်ပိုင်းမှာဆင်ញင်တော့ရပြီးသားမဲ့ရဲ့ဖို့ရဲ့နိဗ္ဗာန်ရဲ့ပြီးတော့ပယ်ပြီးကိလေသာလောက်ပဲဆင်ញင်တော့တယ်မပယ်ရသေးတဲ့ကိလေသာတွေကမရှိတော့ကုန်းသွားပြီအဲ့လိုပယ်ပြီးကိလေသာတွေအတိအတိပေါ်ဒီဆင်ញင်လာရမှာလောဘခေါ်တဲ့ကိလေသာအလှည့်ရောက်သွားတဲ့အခါဒီလောဘကြောင့်တန်တရားတစ်လျှောက်လုံးမှာဆင်းရဲဒုက္ခတွေရောက်ရတာတင်းကိုတော့ငါတွေ့ပြီဆိုပြီးတော့တင်းကိုငါနိုင်ပြီဆိုပြီးတော့အမှန်တော့ဝမ်းသာတဲ့ဥဒံကာထာပေါ့လေမြတ်စွာဘုရားကစိတ်ထဲမှာကျွင်းတော်မူပါတယ်
After the arising of the arahata path consciousness, which uprooted once and for all the defilements of mind present then or present before that occurrence in the bodhisattva, there occurred what is known as various instances of reviewing knowledge. There was the reviewing knowledge which reflected on each of the paths and fruitions, the stream entrance, the once returner, the non-returner, and the arahant. And in each of these, during each of these reviewing process, 5 aspects of reviewing took place. There was reviewing of the path that was gained, its fruition, nirvana, the kilesas that were uprooted, and the kilesas yet to be uprooted. For as you know, at each of these levels or stages of path consciousness, path attainment, certain classes of kilesas are uprooted. So these 5 aspects of reviewing were made for each of these first 4 path attainment, path and fruition attainment. When it came to the arahata path and fruition, there were only 4 aspects. The aspect that reviewed the arahata path, the arahata fruition, nirvana as the object of that consciousness, and the kilesas, the defilements that were uprooted. For upon attainment of the arahata path consciousness, all imaginable kilesas, defilements are completely uprooted. There is none left to be worked on. And upon completing that whole array of reviewing processes, the Buddha, when he came to, when he reviewed the kilesas and it came to the reviewing of greed, desire or craving, he certainly realized that he had found the culprit. And in this realization, he uttered a verse that is so well known.
မြတ်စွာဘုရားစိတ်ထဲမှာကျွေးတဲ့ဥဒ္ဒံဂါထာကတော့အနေကဇာတိသံစာရံသန္တာဝိသံအနေပိသံကာကာရံကဝေသံတောဒုက္ခဇာတိပုဏ္ဏပုဏ္ဏံကာကာရဂတိတောစီမုပုဏ္ဏဂယနာဂာစီသဗ္ဗတေဘာစုကဘေကခာကုတံဝိသင်္ခတံဝိသင်္ခာရကတံစိတ်จิตတံတဏှာနံခယမကြကတဲ့မြတ်စွာဘုရားစိတ်ထဲမှာကျွေးနေတာနော်ဘုန်းကြီးကအတန်ထုတ်ပြီးတော့ဒီမှာပရိသတ်နားထောင်ရအောင်ဆိုပြီးတော့ရုပ်ပြတာအတိပ္ပယ်ကတော့ဘဝတိဖြစ်ရခြင်းဟာဥနာတိဒုက္ခဘေးတွေနဲ့ရောထွေးနေတာမဟုတ်လို့ခဏခဏချင်းကပ်ရတာဟာဆင်းရဲတယ်တဲ့ဘဝတိကိုဖန်တီးတတ်တဲ့တဏှာယောက်ျားလက်သမားကိုမတွေ့သေးလို့ရှိရင်အဲ့ဒီဘဝတိဇာတိဆင်းရဲဟာနောက်ဆုံးမသွားပါဘူးတဲ့မကင်းပါဘူးတဲ့အဲ့ဒီအကြောင်းတစ်ချက်ကြောင့်ခန္ဓာကိုယ်အိမ်ကြီးကိုဆောက်လုပ်တတ်တဲ့တဏှာယောက်ျားလက်သမားကိုမနာမနေရှာဖွေတော့မှာတဏှာယောက်ျားလက်သမားကိုမြင်နိုင်တဲ့တပ္ပိယဉာဏ်တော်ကြီးမရသေးလို့ဒုက္ခလောက်လျှက်သိချင်းဒီကဘာတသိကာလပတ်လုံးအသိမကဘဝများစွာတန်တရားဆက်ဝိုင်းကြီးကိုလှည့်လည်ပြီးတော့ပြေးခဲ့ရပြီတဲ့လဲခဲ့ရပြီတဲ့ဟဲ့တဏှာယောက်ျားလက်သမားယခုတပ္ပိယဉာဏ်တော်ကြီးငါရပြီတဲ့ဒါကြောင့်တင့်ကိုငါတွေးပြီတင်ရှိဆက်ပြီးတော့ငါခန္ဓာအင်းကြီးကိုဘယ်နည်းနဲ့မှမတိဆောက်နိုင်တော့ဘူးတင်းရဲ့ကျွမ်းမဲ့ဥသောအလုံးစုံကုန်သောကိလေသာတွေမှန်သမျှကိုလည်းပဲအကုန်လုံးဖြစ်စည်းပြီးပြီကိလေသာတွေဟူသောအချင်းရနယ်တွေကိုလည်းပဲဖြစ်စည်းပြီးပြီအဲ့ရဲ့အထွတ်ဖြစ်တဲ့အဝိဇ္ဇာကိုလည်းပဲမှုန့်ငြိမ့်ငြိမ့်ဖြစ်စည်းပြီးပြီငါရဲ့စိတ်ကလေးဟာယုံနာသင်္ခါရတရားတွေရဲ့ချုပ်ငြိရဖြစ်တဲ့နိဗ္ဗာန်ကိုအာယုပြုတဲ့အနေအချင်းရောက်နေပြီတင်တနာယောက်ျားလက်သမားတို့ရဲ့ကုံရာဖြစ်တဲ့အရတ္တဖို့ကြီးကိုလည်းပဲငါရနေပြီလို့စိတ်ထဲမှာပေါ့လေကျွေးနေတာပါပဲ
You just heard a recitation of the Pali, the verse that the Buddha uttered in his mind upon discovering the culprit behind this long wanderings in samsara. I will read you a translation of that verse, and after that we'll translate the sense of the verse that the Sayadaw commented on just now. Through many a birth I wandered in samsara, seeking but not finding the builder of the house. Suffering indeed is birth again and again. O house builder, you are seen. You shall build no house again. All your rafters are broken. Your rich pole is shattered. My mind has attained the unconditioned. Achieved is the end of craving. So the Buddha was uttering this verse as a sense of appreciation for his newfound wisdom, because during his strivings, his innumerable lives in samsara. He had wandered on and on, trying to find the builder of the house, trying to find the cause of this mass of suffering, of this body of his, that kept on repeatingly, that kept on appearing and disappearing and being born and dying. But he could not find the builder because he did not attain omniscient knowledge. And he realized that because of this ignorance, it is indeed suffering to be born again and again and again. But now, upon attaining this enlightenment, this great enlightenment of the Buddhas, the house builder, craving is discovered. You are the culprit, craving, and I have seen you, and you shall not escape. There is no house for you to build again. All your rafters, all your kilesas, all your defilements are broken. And your rich pole, which is ignorance, has been completely shattered. My mind has attained the unconditioned. I have realized nirvana. I have realized nirvana as an object of my consciousness. Achieved is the end of craving. This arahata path consciousness is indeed the sword that has completely cut off all cravings.
နည်းနည်းလေးဖျားဖြစ်ပုံချက်ပြီးတော့ပြောလိုပါသေးတယ်မြတ်စွာဘုရားဟာဘောဓိပင်ခြေရက်မှာထိုင်တော်မူပြီးတော့နေမဝင်ခင်အချိန်ခါလေးမှာမန်စီတီကိုနိုင်တော်မူတယ်တဲ့အဲ့ဒါလေးပြန်လိုက်ပါဦး
So I would like to talk a little bit on that very eventful, momentous day that the Buddha or that the Bodhisattva attained the various stages of insight, how he gained, how he won many battles before he gained complete victory over his defilements. In the first watch of the night, before sunset, the Bodhisattva was sitting under the Bodhi tree, serene, and yet being attacked on all sides by the armies of Mara. And during the first watch of the night, he completely overcome Mara's armies.
ပထမညာဥပိုင်းမှာရှိသောဘဝကနေထိုင်ခဲ့မှုတဲ့အခြေအနေတွေကိုဖုံးလွှမ်းထားတဲ့အမိုက်တိုက်ကြီးကိုဖြစ်စီပြီးတော့ပုဗ္ဗေနိဝါဒဉာဏ်တော်ကြီးရရှိတော်မူတယ်ပုဗ္ဗေနိဝါဒနုတ္တိဉာဏ်တော်ကြီးရရှိတော်မူပါတယ်
By the second watch of the night, the Buddha had developed his consciousness to such a state of purity that he could smash through the veil of ignorance that covered knowledge of previous existences. He was able to see through innumerable lives all the various sufferings that he had gone through. မစ္စည်းမယံမှာတော့တိပ္ပစက္ကုဉာဏ်တော်ကြီးကိုရရှိတော်မူပါတယ်တိပ္ပစက္ကုဆိုတာဝေဝေကအရာတွေ
mông hoa để ở nhà để có miên xoát này để năm nhất sĩ cái đó đi bắt sẽ có ở bên nhé ở bên nhé ra mua để lúc sau vậy.
By the middle watch of the night, he had further developed his consciousness to that state of psychic power, where he was able to see things that were subtle and far, things that were naked, that were not visible to the naked eye, and that is called the divine eye, the eye that can be compared to that of a deva.
Now so ya mà đó, now so là bác sĩ mà ya bỏ đi, now so bác sĩ mà ya mà đó. Alo luna bia mà tát đầu đi bỏ mà, chỉ là tân nam ở trong biểu bì đó, bác sĩ à cả ra khó để bác sĩ tụi mình bắt, trong chú sẽ đi đi bỏ mà nhang chát tụi mình bì đó, anh nuôi lồng bắt đi lồng này áp hiện, tông ta sinh nhật nó mua đấy. Ai lo tông ta sinh nhật lo, ai用tết tết khám mà về, cô đấy cái yêu nàng khán giả đi phía phía, siêu bị đâu bắt nãy nhà này xin đánh đẹp bị, mẹ liva phô liva, tất sẽ thấy giá trị đó là, nào xong ở đây mình kỹ thuật đi, bé ta bị đó, ta bị như thế nhận đồ gì giá trị đó là, ở đây giá trị bị nào phải mà. A tây mà cả tây mông mía xóa đó, phải à sưu sưu lem lót đấy, a đông biểu cái đấy, còn anh ấy cái gì sansaran số đấy, cả thà cô bảo đi xây thêm mà yết vào.
By the last watch of the night, the Buddha, the Bodhisattva, out of great compassion and metta for all beings, for all living beings, turned his attention to the workings of dependent origination. He investigated the links in the dependent origination, forwards and backwards, and by the first break of dawn, he had again utilized his extremely pure and concentrated state of mind, consciousness, inwards, to look at all the mental and physical phenomena that were occurring within his own body. And almost like lightning in a flash, he went through the 4 paths and fruitions and attained that state of omniscient knowledge which all self-enlightened Buddhas deserve. And upon that, upon emerging from that newfound enlightenment, he uttered this ode that has been used from time immemorial by all Buddhas.
Edi Gathama Luyenga Anika Jadi Sansara Sandawisa Anibisa Sura Luyema. Edi Dema Nika Jadi Sansara Sura Zagazuma Jadi Suraha Boa di Piera Babe. Edi Boa di Piera ha the Boba Rema Hopa, a nigga, a miaji, may you met time. အဲ့ဒါလိုတဘွားအများကြီးဟာအဆက်မပြတ်ဆက်ဆက်တုတ်ပြန်ပြီးတော့သွားနေတာဟာတလဲလဲနေတာဟာသံဃာဝတ္တလို့ခေါ်ပါတယ်
If you will notice in the verse that was recited by the Sayadaw, the first part of the verse carries the essence of the message that the Buddha was trying to say, and that refers to the many births that had occurred in samsara. And jati, which is translated as birth, is not only a single birth. Aneka jati means many, many births, countless births. Samsara means countless births have occurred in this round of this cycle of rebirths, of birth and death, of samsara.
အဲ့ဒီဘဝပေါင်းများစွာကိုအသိမကယုဒ္ဓနာတ္တိဆက်ဆက်ပြီးတော့ဖြစ်နေတဲ့တန်တရားဆယ်ဝိုင်းကြီးကိုလဲခဲ့ရတာကိုတဏ္ဍဝိတံခေါ်ပါတယ်။ဘာဖြစ်လို့လဲခဲ့ရသလဲလို့ဆိုတော့အနိဗ္ဗိတံနဲ့တဏှာယောက်ျားကိုမြင်နိုင်တဲ့ဉာဏ်မရသေးလို့ဒီလိုလဲခဲ့ရတာတဲ့ခန္ဓာအိမ်အတိတ်ကိုအဖာမန်ထထတိဆောက်တတ်တဲ့တဏှာယောက်ျားလက်သမားကိုမတွေ့သေးလို့ဒီလိုလဲခဲ့ရတာတဲ့
So we can see that innumerable births have occurred, and millions of mental and physical phenomena have been going on and on and on in this big wheel of samsara, which causes it to rotate in a vicious cycle. But what is the reason why this samsara, this wheel, should rotate on? Because the wisdom that is able to penetrate through the veil of ignorance and locate the cause of that rotation of that cycle has not yet been attained.
ဘယ်တော့ကလဲခဲ့တာတော့လို့ဆိုတော့ဘာပြုနေတော့မှလဲခဲ့တဲ့တော့လို့ဆိုတော့ဂဟကာရံကိုယ်တန်တော့တဲ့တဏှာယောက်ျားလက်သမားကိုမရမနေရှာဖွေနေတော့မှလဲခဲ့တယ်တဲ့
But when is that wheel of samsara rotating in that vicious cycle? While he wandered, trying to find the builder of the house, but yet in vain he was swept by that current of samsara, seeking birth and rebirth and death and rebirth again and again.
ဘာဖြစ်လို့ရှာဖွေရသလဲလို့ဆိုတော့အကြောင်းတစ်ချက်ပြထားပါတယ်တိဘဝတိဖြစ်ရခြင်းဟာဥနာတိဒုက္ခဘေးတွေနဲ့ရောထွေးနေတဲ့အတွက်ထက်ခါတလဲလဲချင်းကပ်ရတာဆင်းရဲတယ်အဲ့ဒီအကြောင်းတစ်ချက်ပြီးတော့အဲ့ဒီဘဝဇာတိဟာသူ့ကိုဖန်တီးတိဆောက်တတ်တဲ့တဏှာယောက်ျားလက်သမားကိုမတွေ့သေးလို့ရှိရင်သူ့ကိုမနိုင်သေးလို့ရှိရင်အလိုလိုပဲမဆုံးနေသေးဘူးမကုန်ခန်းသေးဘူးအဲ့ဒီအကြောင်းတစ်ချက်ကြောင့်ဘဝဇာတိတွေပြပြီးတော့တန်တရားမလဲလိုတဲ့အနေနဲ့ပေါ့လေ အဲ့ဒီအကြောင်းနဲ့ချက်တဏှာယောက်ျားတဲ့သမားကိုရှာဖွေရတာပါ
If one were to ask why the builder of the house craving should be found, then the answer lies in 2 points. One, that it is suffering to be born, since birth is the main cause, or is with old age and sickness and death. And the second point is that as long as craving is not found, it will be the propelling force that will continue to rotate that vicious cycle of samsara.
ဒီနေ့ဌာနမှာဇာတိဆိုတာလေးနည်းနည်းအမြတ်ပြောပြရစီဘုန်းကြီးကတော့ဟောကျင်တော့တော်တော်လေးကြည်ကြည်ပြည့်ပြည့်ဟောကျင်တာပဲဒါပေမဲ့လို့တဏှာကြီးတွင်တိတာယုံမြလေးဟောရတဲ့တရားဆိုတော့အဓိပ္ပာယ်ဒီခြုံမိငုံမိအောင်ဆိုပြီးတော့လူရင်းဟောရပါတယ်လုပ်ငန်းစဉ်နဲ့ဆက်ဆက်ပြီးတော့ဟောမှသဘာဝကျမှာပါ
Sayadaw would like to talk a little bit more on the subject of jati, of birth. Though he has a lot to say on this particular subject, he understands that he's got limited time for this talk tonight, and he will also try to give the talk in such a way that the practical side of Satipatthana meditation will be included.
ဘဝဇာတိလေးစဖြစ်တဲ့အချိန်လေးမှာစက္ကန့်ပိုင်းတောင်မှရှိမှာမဟုတ်ပါဘူးတောင်းလေးအဲ့ဒီအချိန်လေးမှာပဋိသန္ဓေစိတ်နဲ့ရုပ်အနှဲငယ်ပါလာပါတယ်အဲ့ဒီခိုက်တာမှာတော့ဒုက္ခတကယ်ဆင်းရဲတော့မဖြစ်သေးပါဘူးဖြစ်တဲ့အချိန်လေးကလည်းတူတူလေးပါပဲအဲ့တူတူတောင်းတော့ဘဝတည်းစပြီးတော့ဖြစ်တဲ့ဟာလေးကိုဘာဖြစ်လို့ဆင်းရဲလို့ဆိုထားသလိုလို့ဆိုတော့သူကိုယ်နဲ့ကလည်းပဲပြောပါလောက်အောင်အမှန်တရားနေစုခံခဲ့တဲ့ဆင်းရဲမျိုးလည်းမဟုတ်ဖဲနဲ့ဘာဖြစ်လို့ဆင်းရဲလို့ဆိုရသလိုလို့ဆိုတော့သူကိုယ်နဲ့ကတော့လောလောဆယ်ဖြစ်တဲ့ခိုက်တာမှာအနေစုခံခဲ့တဲ့ဆင်းရဲတော့မဟုတ်ဘူးပေါ့လေဒါပေမဲ့လို့ဘဝတည်စပြီးတော့ဖြစ်တယ်ဆိုရင်အိုဘုဒ္ဓပြင်ပြီးတော့နာဘုဒ္ဓပြင်ပြီးတော့သေဘုဒ္ဓပြင်ပြီးတော့သူ့အကြောင်းပြုပြီးတော့မဆုံးနိုင်တဲ့ဥနာသေးဒုက္ခဘေးတွေကရောထွေးပြီးတော့ပါလာတာဖြစ်တဲ့အတိုင်းကိုလိုသလိုတီးနေတာမဟုတ်ဘူးငိုခြင်းမနဲ့အိုရတာမနာခြင်းမနဲ့နာရတာမသေးခြင်းမနဲ့သိရတာဒါဒီကျုံနေရတာပဲမြေကြီးတွေကမှုများပွင့်လာလို့ရှိရင်သူ့ရဲ့ဥထိတ်မှာမြေမှုံကလေးအလိုလိုပါလာတယ်ဘယ်သူမှတင်ပေးလိုက်တာမဟုတ်ဘူးဒါလိုပဲဘဝဇာတိဖြစ်လာပြီဆိုရင်ဥနာတိရေးဆိုတဲ့ဒုက္ခတွေရွက်ပိုးပြီးတော့ထွက်လာတာရောထွေးနေတာဖြစ်တော့တဘဝနဲ့လည်းမပြီးဘူးနှစ်ဘဝနဲ့လည်းမပြီးဘူးဘဝခါကမပြီးဘူးဒါကြောင့်သူ့ကိုဆင်းရဲလို့မြတ်စွာဘုရားမိန့်ကြားထားပါတယ်
ခုနကဥပမာပါလေဥပမာ
မို့မရှုံးမို့ပွင့်လာတဲ့ခါကျတော့သူ့ရဲ့အထိတ်မှာမြေကြီးလေးအလိုလိုပါလာတာဘယ်သူမှတင်ပေးလိုက်တာမဟုတ်
birth, according to Buddhist belief, occurs at the moment when the rebirth consciousness arises. And upon the occurrence of the rebirth consciousness, there also comes with it a very, very minute material quality, material phenomenon. And that particular moment of rebirth consciousness plus material phenomenon is called birth. Why is it that birth is suffering? It cannot be denied that at that very moment of rebirth consciousness plus material phenomena, there is no suffering. It is not an apparent, unpleasant sensation. It cannot be said to be a painful sensation. And yet, if one appreciates, if one can understand that birth is the direct cause for growth, for maturity, for old age, for sickness, and for death, then one can appreciate the fact that it is also a part of suffering. It is precisely because birth has occurred that one has to go through all these processes of old age, of sickness, of death, against all our wishes. It's common knowledge that though we may not want to age, though we may not want to fall sick, though we may resist death in all ways possible, all our efforts are totally in vain. Thus, birth, because it is connected so closely with all the other processes of life, is suffering. It's like a mushroom that sprouts from the earth. As it comes up from the earth, at the apex of the mushroom, the soil will automatically be carried upward. No one put the soil on the mushroom, but the soil came up together with the sprouting of the mushroom.
အဲ့ဒီဘဝသည့်ဆင်းရဲဟာတဘဝအတွက်စလိုက်လို့ရှိရင်အိုနာနောက်ဆုံးတည်ပြီးတော့ပြီးတာပဲမဟုတ်လားပြတ်တာပဲမဟုတ်လားနောက်ပါပြီးတော့ဘာဆက်ဖြစ်ဖို့လိုသေးတယ်လို့မေးเสียရှိပါတယ်
However, one may ask, why is it that we should worry about the after death? After all, with birth, there is growth and there is old age and decay and death. And so what? After that, what happens? Why should there be birth again? Death is death, and that's the end of everything.
Kaniya bhawaဖြစ်စေတယ်လို့ဆိုမယ်လို့ကိလေသာရှိနေတဲ့ပုဂ္ဂိုလ်တွေသာကံကအကျိုးပေးနိုင်တာအထူးအားဖြင့်ဘဝတွေပေါ်မှာတွေ့ညှိတဲ့တဏှာရှိမှသာဘဝတွေအကျိုးပေးနိုင်တာပါအဲ့ဒီဘဝတွေပေါ်မှာတွေ့ညှိတဲ့တဏှာမကင်းသေးသမျှတော့ကံတွေကဆက်ပြီးတော့အကျိုးပေးနေဦးမှာပဲဒီတော့ဘဝဖြစ်ခြင်းရဲ့အကြောင်းသမုဒယသစ္စာတဏှာခေါ်တဲ့လက်သမားကိုပိုင်နိုင်ကြီးမတွေ့သေးဘူးဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တဏှာတက်ခံကပါနေတော့ကံပြုကံမှတစ်ခါဘဝဖြစ်တယ်ဆိုလို့ရှိရင်တဏှာအစီကပါသွားပြန်တော့တစ်ခါဥနာတိဒုက္ခဝိနည်းနဲ့ကြုံရတဏှာအစီကမကုန်သေးတော့ဒီလိုနည်းနဲ့ပဲခြာလပတ်လဲပြီးတော့ဖြစ်နေမှာဒီဘဝဇာတိဟာသူ့ရဲ့လက်တယ်ဖြစ်တဲ့တဏှာယောက်ျားလက်သမားကိုမတွေ့သေးသမျှဆိုလို့ရှိရင်ပယ်နည်းနဲ့ပါသူကအလိုလိုနောက်ဆုတ်သွားမှာမဟုတ်ဘူးတဲ့
For mortals who are still steeped in defilements, there is no escape from them, for them. For as long as they hold on to life, as long as they see some advantage in living, as long as they grasp life and have desires, then that will be the cause for all sorts of activities, be they mental or physical or verbal. All these activities make karma, and karma, having been performed, will always linger around as a potential energy that crouches behind, waiting for just the right occasion to pounce upon the doer. And as long as there is karma being created, that doer will not be free from its effects, from its resultants. And though a physical death may occur, the energy of the karma, the latent energy of the karma, will produce birth again in another existence. And so it goes on in a very vicious cycle. And as long as a person is ignorant of the fact that craving or desire is the house builder, is the culprit behind this whole senseless samsaric wandering, then he will be doomed to just keep on moving.
လောကမှာရှိနေတဲ့အဆောက်အဦတွေဟာအချိန်တန်ကြလို့ရှိရင်တော့ဆွေးမြေ့ယူရင်းပြီးတော့ပြိုပြက်သွားပြီမဲ့လို့အိမ်ဆောက်လုပ်တတ်တဲ့လက်သမားတွေကဘာပေါ်မှာရှိနေသမျှတော့နောက်ထပ်အိမ်အသစ်တွေတော့ဖြစ်နေဦးမှာပဲဆောက်နေဦးမှာပဲဒီလိုလက်သမားတွေဖျောက်လိုက်လို့ရှိရင်တော့ဘယ်နည်းနဲ့မှအိမ်အဆောက်အဦတွေပေါ့တိုက်တာအဆောက်အဦတွေမဖြစ်နိုင်တော့ဘူးဒီတော့အဆောက်အဦတွေမဖြစ်စေခြင်းလို့ရှိရင်တော့လက်သမားတွေဖျောက်ဖြစ်ပြရမှာပဲဖျောက်ပြပြရင်တော့အိမ်မရှိသလိုအဆောက်အဦတွေမရှိသလိုပေါ့ထို့အတူခန္ဓာအိမ်အသစ်ကိုဆောက်လုပ်တတ်တဲ့တဏှာလက်သမားကိုမနှိမ်နိုင်သမျှကာလပတ်လုံးတော့ဘဝအဆောက်အဦတွေကတော့ဒီလိုပဲဖြစ်နေမှာပဲဒါကြောင့်ဘုရားလောင်းဟာခန္ဓာအိမ်ကိုထက်ခတ်တက်ကတိဆောက်တတ်တဲ့တဏှာလက်သမားကိုမရမနေရှာဖွေနေရတာပဲ
In this world, no matter how old and decrepit houses will become, and no matter how many buildings or houses will be destroyed and crumpled down, as long as there are builders and carpenters, house builders, new ones will always sprout up. And if indeed houses are to be completely wiped off, then we have to get rid of all these house builders. In the same way, the house builder, which is craving, of our bodies, of this aggregate of mind and matter, if he is found and exterminated, then there will be no occasion for a further appearance of this aggregate of suffering. That's why the Bodhisattva, that's why the Buddha, in uttering his ode to the Dhamma, proclaimed that, or said that while he was searching for the house builder for craving, and because he could not find it, he had to wander aimlessly through this cycle of samsara.
မြတ်စွာဘုရား Meliva Petaya Gilidari, a di Singing Laya Lova Atle Yauare Kajaro Teku Wenda Vido, Dino, Daniel Shalom, Dukari Pigger, a good dweeby, Mayamani Shapwini, a good dweeby, so we don't take Ayatwana. Yatema so dini Ludiago, Saya, Lonjoin Tana Lavido, Taulani, Jumpe Mibi solution. Ke, mean dweeby mola, mean batan and did the lelu suramulo. Then I let the mago, yes, of here. Alone of water go a sharp way no so. Baby da Gilidari, a didi singing a car. Then now. Atle Yauare Kaja, Dino, a dweeby, so we don't jump me, so we don't take ayat. He a call me batan and the requires Ramulo Boli. Kahagaraga, Tanayoja, head let the ma. Yaku, Tabinuda, Yandoji, Najashi, a kama. Tingu or dweeby. They have any nema, not can I a degu. Disown mamma hodo. They for the head. Kilida, a chinyaneri will ever Momunian up cheap pibi. A masolution a year bare a topol, a wazer took level chessy bibi. Mayasically ha, you nothing hararu, chonging up shit and neighbor. I am beauty and the app in young navy. Didn't I have just let the matter yet? Going up shit at a pool level, a good by my main and yarny, so we don't mess of here. I'm not Gina no. Say ten my body. One down your pibido. Adelu Julia.
As the Buddha was reviewing the various kilesas that were uprooted by the corresponding path and by the corresponding lower paths, he finally came to review the kilesas, the defilements that were uprooted by the Arahata path. And when he came to craving, he was delighted to find the culprit. It was his sense of joy was his joy in making this discovery was expressed in this verse which he uttered in his mind. That he had, and you can imagine how joyful he would have felt. For he had wandered through innumerable births and lives and existences, trying to find the builder of the house, the craving behind this mass of suffering. And now, at last, he had found what he was looking for. Sayadaw was pointing to an example, like this looks like an agent, say of the FBI, was looking around for a culprit, for a spy, and he's trailing him. And finally, when he catches him in the act of doing some espionage thing, then he can be really very satisfied that he had found his man. And having found the culprit, the Buddha then again expresses joy by saying that, "You house builder, you shall never again build a new house. all your rafters, all your kilesas, all the kilesas, all the defilements are broken. And I've penetrated through ignorance, which is your ridgepole.
Dhyana Pate Viro Tandaya Sapo Tandaya Wood Sapo Net Tandaya Wopia Pumboli, Celebiro Hovabe. Puido Ribitandaya Atoni de Yogi Poko Mia the Wajabaga Pipian in the Yona Diari through Pisema, Labido, Mashuye. Mati de Awisa Mamati, already shouted Awisa Pite Mati ye, Erarigo accounting video Taya Mutana Pite Swellam Ubara and Pita Kilita would be Pieto Kilita was jump you with a Kaunkan Sukani Lame, Kamauti La Pipi Kama was out no boatiti to me. Any boatim haleve a waza ne a 2 avi gonna cana go disought at it, Tataka Padwada Pieto Nalu Timbi at a maleve to get seen in the Yunan Diari, Matibia, John Joseph Boni Matibia. Mere seeing the Bobes or Matibia, always at the tap chip. Tanari Tapia, Ugarani Tapia. Kilita Leviami, Kilita Maraka, Kamau, Upaka, Dini never chalaba leni. Mashuda Bogore Foyaro, Kilita, Sadwavo. Shuda Bogore Haro, Shuda, Jona TV, John Jewelry TV, Messing at the Bobesura TV. Tiro Madian to a Nevido, Tiro, Piedwara, Tanari Kendwara, Sulamuri Kendwara. To a jump you with Kamao Kore, Tingara Sieri Piedwara, Tingara Sier Piedwara, Ubaga was Sieri Piapum body. Ella lady Savido, Ho Shiva. Never got Jama, Lungazin, Sessa Vido. Tandia was here, Sapone, Tandia was here, Piapum body. Era lady Hova, who dinero change out of Buddha name Holo, Buddha name Ha Dilo, Miaswa here, Parmidi Pipis on Viro Mandaya Share Kama, Diniti, Payapsi days or Payapsi de Kama, Dikara, Sitema Yotes Ravoli. Tia, a Tayma Nine, change of Vido Hoyarava. Dini Dalope Toja also. Buddha name Ha Buddha Tiarago, Yumchi Leza Jare Boko Mia Miaswa Piago, a Conzo, Damapuza, Puzo Jim Pim. Could I say Savio, Bore Ioni, Pose Lavito Swemias or Shumalo Tilatamali, Pina Mimido, Kuba Incendiari, Ne Pivi Wawaji Puzo Nanyava, say.
Sayadaw was actually thinking of continuing the talk by discoursing on this cycle of samsara. He was thinking of talking about the cycle of karma, the cycle of its resultants, it's the cycle of the kilesas. How, for example, if as a yogi you are required to be attentive and mindful of all the physical and mental phenomena that arise from moment to moment. And that if you're not mindful, you miss the chance of understanding the true nature of reality, understanding the true nature of mind and matter and how they are connected by a mechanism of cause and effect, and how, for example, they exhibit the characteristics of impermanence by arising and passing away from moment to moment, and of suffering, unsatisfactoriness, and of anatta, of non-selfness, that there's no one behind, that is an empty process that comes and goes according to its own laws. If these aspects of truth are not realized, are not known, then the mind would be disillusioned, would be deluded to think that all the experiences that can be that are perceptible, that are perceived at the sense doors, are permanent, or are pleasant, or that there is a self behind it, there's a self-entity behind their occurrence, then that would cause desire to arise, desire for good taste and good feelings and so forth. And that desire would be the cause for all sorts of various activities, mental and verbal and physical. So that comprises the cycle of karma. How through ignorance there can be craving, desire, and how through desire and craving there can also arise clinging, attachment to things which you have already desired and which you've got. You are very attached to them. Then again, there is the cycle of resultants, cycle of the resultants of karma. That with all these karmic activities that are being accumulated, the karmic energy will eventually give rise to corresponding resultants. For example, having died in this present existence, the strength of your past karma will immediately bring forth a new existence, a rebirth. And that is the cycle of vipaka, of resultants. And again, because one has not penetrated through the veil of ignorance, upon rebirth, again the whole vicious cycle starts to revolve. With ignorance, there comes craving, there is delusion, and there comes craving, and with craving, clinging, and with clinging, various other defilements, which again would generate fresh karma. And so this karmic cycle, this resultant cycle, and this defilement cycle link to one another and keep on revolving endlessly. However, if a yogi is really diligent and conscientious in his task, trying to activate attentive, penetrative, and accurate, precise mindfulness from moment to moment, then he will be able to make use of the opportunity to penetrate into the true nature of things, coming to know mind and matter, their interrelationship through the mechanism of cause and effect, and their various characteristics of impermanence, of suffering, and non-self. And with that realization, with that penetration into the true nature of reality, then there will be no space at all for craving to arise. And with the arresting of craving, then it goes that all the other various karmic activities too will not have the chance to appear. And with that, the vicious cycle is cut. And how your yogi, through persistent and continued mindfulness, he will be able to go through all the various stages of insight and finally achieve nirvanic bliss, which is a total freedom from this cycle of karma, resultant, and defilements. But today, being this auspicious occasion that's called Vesak Day or Buddha Day, the Sayadaw has tried to commemorate this particular occasion by reciting and explaining the verse that was uttered in the heart of the Buddha upon his supreme enlightenment. Sayadaw hopes that all of you will be able to make use of this auspicious occasion today, and through diligent practice, which means to say, trying to be mindful from moment to moment with the degree of accuracy and precision that is able to catch each moment in its wholeness